Hello everyone, this is our Hawaiian Volcano summary for December 4th, 2025. In the week following episode 37 of Kilauea's ongoing summit eruption, the volcano has been fairly quiet, just glowing and flaming and degassing. As you can see here in this view from the V1 camera, live as we record. However, in the last couple of days, we've had a subsidence or sinking episode that occurred in an area where lava typically ponds near the vents on the west side of the crater floor. It's a small area, which you can see in our time lapse from the KW camera here, that over the last couple of days it has undergone some sinking in this central area that we've seen sink before, right? Perhaps through some draining into some underground network here. So here's a different view from the V2 camera, which if you look at the bottom left side here of the screen, you can see the ground dropping just over the course of this morning. Is this particular animation here. So all this corresponds, if you look here at the 3-month tilt on Kilauea Summit, we are overall recharging since episode 37, building towards episode 38, which the USGS expects within the next week. But just within the last few hours of this morning, we had a very small deflation event, which corresponded with that subsidence event at the surface as well. So perhaps there is some connection and some effect that may slow the forecast from the USGS, which currently is between December 6th and 9th based on the ground deformation models here. All that based on overall inflation, continuing glow from the vent, and intermittent spattering. We have a new map released of the eruption area at the summit of National Park, with all the impact within the inner crater of Halemaumau within Kīlauea, the greater caldera. So earthquakes have been fairly quiet this past week, following the previous week's magnitude 4.6 in the south flank. We have a more typical pattern of south flank events continuing, as well as a resumption of summit events leading up to or following our episode 37 as well. That complements our largest earthquakes this past week, which have been down in the Pahala region, colored in blue at this greater depth, connected to the hotspot feeder to the volcano. Overall, our earthquake counts per week have fluctuated some, with that peak last week and magnitude 4.6, but you can see we're back to our lower value, and all this within a lower average, which has been our normal ever since the onset of this eruption nearly a year ago in December of 2024. The biggest impact of people is still the VOG. Here you can see the VOG forecast with mostly trade winds affecting southwest Hawaii areas and occasional slack winds affecting areas to the north. Current conditions are looking pretty good, with a purple air monitoring network showing most signals in the green island-wide. However, our satellite mounts data software is showing us that we've had several dispersions of SO2 across the southwest over the last few days here, large enough to be picked up from space. So even between episodes, these emissions can be large and considerable and impactful to people living in these areas for a long time. At the start of the month, we have a new monthly update from the USGS on Mauna Loa, which notes a return to background earthquake rates in November. This is following a higher level of November. We're down to modestly higher rates for the last month here. They also note that GPS instruments showed a slight increase in inflation, which is normal as a volcano recovers from its 2022 eruption and magma replenishes the system. So they note recent data indicates the center of deformation shifted to the southern caldera region, indicating a refilling of the south caldera magma chamber there. Right. So this has led to some slightly different patterns. But overall, after that spike of earthquakes that was indicative of that process last month, we see here a return to our background values for Mauna Loa, which are pretty low for the last year, and certainly low within the context of the last 5 years, including the build-up to the 2022 eruption. that you can see plotted here. So the nuance is that the volcano has been contracting at its summit with that shift to the south caldera, while the up and down signal has stabilized as well. So that's our summary for this week.